All right, looks like we're live. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Samuel Ronan. I am running for Congress in Ohio's 1st Congressional District in the state of Ohio. I'm running as a Republican. You can find my website at www.ronanforcongress.com, my Twitter at Ronan4Progress, and Facebook at /RonanForCongress. Today, we're mixing it up a little bit. It's been too heavy these last few live streams that I've done. They've just been... Well, I'm definitely not trying to be dark and dismal and, gloom and doom, right? This is supposed to be inspirational. This is supposed to be interactive. These live streams are supposed to get people to want to take action and not simply be afraid and worry about the state of current events. So, earlier today on Twitter and Facebook, I asked any suggestions for tonight's live stream. And you know what? There's some pretty heavy topics in here, I'm sure, but there's funny ones too. Like how Liz showed up at Prince's debut fashion show, and one of the models was the girl he cheated with, and the girl Pleasure cheated on Shay with. So I know absolutely nothing about Prince's debut fashion show, or either of those women. So I can't really talk about it, but you know what? I think it's good. I think it's refreshing that despite all of the terrible things that are happening in our society, all of the awful news stories, the Russia scandal, the sex scandals, the authoritarianism on the rise, we can still take the time to worry about scandals in Hollywood and in the entertainment industry. Because you know what? In all honesty, that's what we should be focusing on. Our life should be so content. Our government should be so working for us that life should simply be about entertainment and joy and fulfillment. Right? That is the pinnacle of human society, to where we can just live in such peace and such prosperity that we can focus on our frivolous joys, so that we can focus on the NFL or celebrity gossip or playing video games or reading books or going to the movies or going out on dinner dates. So you know what? Keep it up. Do not lose sight of what we're actually fighting for. Politics is important. Reform is necessary. Our country is in a downward spiral. But that doesn't mean we give up that which makes society great. All the little details, all the little intricacies, those little hobbies and those Hollywood gossips, that is what life should be about, not survival. So, taking it up a notch, cooperatives, cooperative legislation, the right of first refusal, and how do we finance co-ops, public credit or private credit. So, I am not as familiar as I would like to be with co-ops, but from what I understand, co-ops are sort of like socialized businesses. They're in corporations, right? They're corporations that are owned by the employees, so worker co-ops. And the premise behind it is any decision that the company makes is voted upon by the employees, meaning, say, a place like Kroger. The management wants to, I don't know, change the shifts or reorganize the store. Well, instead of the manager just saying this is going to happen and then a bunch of people make it happen, all of the cashiers, the cart pushers, the deli workers, the meat workers, stockers, shelvers, logistics management, HR, and everybody else gets to vote. The manager brings it forth, sure, and then everybody else votes. Hey, this is the thing we should do. What do you think? To me, I think that's phenomenal. I think that's a great idea. I think, just like with anything else, there is such thing as too much of a good thing. Show of hands, how many people know anything about business? Right? I'm willing to bet not many. There are some intricacies to running a business. Yes, you must have a certain amount of profit and you must have a certain amount of expenditure. That's the nature of it, right? In order to sell your product for a profit, you have to know how much it's going to cost with advertisement, delivery, shelving, this, that, and the other, right? And then you got to take into account wages and blah, blah, blah. Not everybody is going to be aware of that. However, people who do propose these ideas can and should provide detail why this would be a good thing, a good presentation, death by PowerPoint. And then with that knowledge, everybody else should be able to make an educated decision. But that means we have to start participating and paying attention to those policies and practices, right? And the same is true for politics. Politics is open to everybody. It is a co-op, if you will. And that's the point. We get what we vote for, or not vote for, as the case may be. And that's the problem. If we don't participate in the elections, then we can't complain that we have nothing but horrible, horrible people representing us. And if we don't vote for people that are worth a damn, or people that are worth a damn don't run, then we still don't have somebody worth representing us, right? So it's a catch-22. In order to fix the system, you have to participate in the system, and in order to participate in the system, you got to fix it. So how do we do all that, right? And back to the cooperatives, simply by pushing forward that kind of agenda. The other half of that question was public credit or private credit. Honestly, it doesn't matter. I think there should be a public incentive, just like there are other public incentives for business. And it should be to first-time business owners or below a certain threshold. Most businesses don't make even a six-figure profit in a given year. Whether they have 5, 50, or 100 employees, usually profits don't make it into the seven-digit number or the seven-digit level for several years or with hundreds of employees. It's just the nature of how businesses operate in this country. Now, of course, there's exceptions to those rules. That being said, when I tried starting my own business, I wanted to do a lounge, a gamer-themed lounge, where it would be in a mall, like a regular shopping mall, and it would be all this nice, luxurious stuff, nice pool tables, chess sets, board games, you know, a PlayStation, an Xbox room, and then a bunch of couches with their own private televisions so you could watch Netflix or whatever, right? That was the idea, and there'd be a part of it that would be free, and then there'd be a part of it that would be a monthly, weekly, whatever fee, right, to enjoy as much or as little of whatever, right? You know, you can sit in there, you can eat your snack, but if you want to use the TV, you gotta freaking pay for it or something, right? Well, I brought this idea to the banks, and they're like, no. First of all, you're a startup, so there's no proof of concept, and we can't find anything that's similar to this to show that it has even validation. And then I give them my business plan, and they're like, Andy, you want to pay people this much? I don't think so, right? We need to incentivize new businesses from new money, right? Not just the wealthy and those that are well-to-do. Young entrepreneurs don't have the opportunity to get involved in business. They just don't, because they don't have the capital. They don't have the credit. They don't have the whatever, right? They wanted me to put down $105,000 for a $350,000 loan. Are you kidding me? That's more money than I make in a year. And that's what they want me to put down. Now, that's not just because I asked for the money. That's anybody. That is literally anybody in the country that wants to start a new business and ask for the maximum small business loan. We want you to put down 30%. So you want me to mortgage my house and my car and give you my life savings so that I can start a business that you and I both know isn't going to be profitable for at least 5 years. Oh, and if for whatever reasons it does go down, now I don't have a house, a home, or savings. There is no incentive to get started. There's nothing but fear involved, actually. So, yes, we should incentivize co-ops, either businesses switching to co-ops or co-ops starting. There should be some sort of incentive. I don't care if it's started off by the government and they own a share of it to be a sort of foundation, a backbone, kind of like what any other angel investor would be like. And that so long as it becomes profitable within 5 years, it becomes yours. If it doesn't, then it gets sold to the government and they can liquidate everything and recoup whatever cost. And you don't have to worry about your house or your car or your life savings going away, right? Government is not the enemy. Government is also not the solution. Government is supposed to be a balance. It's supposed to be the scales, right? The fulcrum of the scales between private and personal. Government is supposed to balance that out, right? If people control everything, nothing gets done because people in general don't really agree on things, right? If everybody in this country, if we were a true democracy, nothing will get done, nothing will get passed. Because if it only took one voice to shut everything down, then everything would always shut down. At the same time, though, we do have a voice. We do need to be heard, and we do need to exercise that right to be heard and to exercise that voice and that vision. Well, right now, we don't, right? If I want to strike against Kroger, I just get fired and replaced. If I wanted to force company X, Y, and Z to unionize and give us better benefits, I'll just get fired. And anybody else who tries to will get fired. there is reprisal for standing up for yourself. Government needs to come into place and put an end to that, to balance the scale. But that doesn't mean government needs to say, nope, you're a business and you need to pay 90% taxes or else, right? Now, I say that, but I also say this. Incentivizing businesses to send money by giving them more money and more benefits doesn't work. We've seen that for the past 40 or 50 years. You know what did work? Taxing them 93%. When Eisenhower taxed businesses at 93%, almost all of their profits and revenues was spent in expansion, wages, benefits, the whole 9 yards. And then whatever was left over, was paid in taxes. I don't see a problem with that. And I did get into an argument on Friday with a conservative judge about that. And I'm like, listen, I get what you're saying. You don't want a Robin Hood tax. I'm okay with that. You believe profit or businesses should be able to do whatever they want with their profits. And to a degree, I'm okay with that. I think there should be some morality in business, that there is an ethical background to operating a business. And yes, that ethical background is to give back to your employees and back to your community, because without them, your business wouldn't function or operate or profit in the first place. And he didn't like that argument. He kept saying, well, that sounds socialist, that sounds blah, blah, blah. I'm like, listen, if you truly believe that a business has the right to exploit its labor force without returning any of that labor or value, then you're part of the problem, and I don't apologize for it. And I'm sorry, there is such thing as ethical capitalism. We have not exercised that in over 70 years, however. And that's what we need to get back to. Because here's the thing about trickle-down economics. That is ethical. Now let me finish. Trickle-down economics is where businesses make profits and then reinvest that back into the employees. That is ethical. That is absolutely ethical. It has never once been enforced in our country at any level, really. And those few companies who do profit sharing or allow their employees to buy stock and whatever, that is a small amount of trickle-down, but it's better than nothing. I'm talking about true trickle-down, where 50% of profits get redistributed into the employee base. 50%. So whether you have 10 employees or 1 million employees, 50% of your profits goes back to the employees who gave it to you. A, that incentivizes employees to do their damn job. B, you're definitely going to ensure that they're going to stay and stick around. And C, when you give that money back to the employees, they're going to spend it, which means that it's going to go right back into the pocket of the economy or the business or the whatever. When people have money, they spend it. So the only ethical business practice out there is finding new and more imaginative ways to give people means to spend their money. It's the only way you're going to profit. That's the only way you can profit, is if people can buy your good or your service. And worker co-ops is a phenomenal step in that direction. Well, that brings up Citizens United. Citizens United is, of course, the Supreme Court ruling that money is free speech. And that free speech in politics is equal to money. And that's why we have a bunch of lobbying. And, well, a lot of corporately owned senators and House of Reps. And unfortunately, that's not going to change. That's not going to go away because we want it to. We can protest from here until our, faces turn blue. The only way that's going to change is if we first take advantage. I know that's not the answer a lot of people want to hear. If Citizens United allows us to spend money to get elected, and that's really the only way to get elected, then we got to raise money, we got to spend it. But it's how we spend it, right? They choose to spend money on consultants and ad buys. We spend money on canvassers, on door knockers, on phone bankers, on social media specialists, right? Because it's about message and about proliferation of that message, and it's about giving back to those people that believe in you and that want you to get elected, not some arbitrary consultant. So if we can fundraise and pursue a grassroots campaign structure with establishment funds and resources, we will win. I would like to say every single time, but you know what? It also takes stepping up to the plate in the first place. And that brings us back to the previous point. So Citizens United, I find reprehensible and unethical. But I'm also a realist enough to know that it's not going away until I and 434 other representatives get elected and 100 other senators and so on and so forth, right? Until we can truly pass legislation to supersede and revoke Citizens United, we have to accept its reality. But that doesn't mean we have to give into it. That means we circumvent it through our own collectivism. I've said it time and time again. 270 million people are eligible to vote in this country. If all 270 million people donated $1 to their local candidate, right, as in respectively, and they did it every single month, that candidate would have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Just bar none, simply because we have money and resources. We can control it. And I get it. Not everybody has $1 to spare. I get that. Trust me. I know what it's like to be like, I either need to put gas in my car or I need to eat. And if I don't put gas in my car, I can't go to work to get the money that requires me to allow me to get the food in the first place. So guess what? Gas in the car. I have sleep for breakfast and dinner, and then I go to work. I get it. But for those of us who can, for those of us who are financially capable of donating to local candidates, screw the parties, all of the parties, forget the parties. Focus on the individuals, right? There are organizations that need your help. Yes, they do. But if we're constantly giving money out to ideas and different, I guess, activities, and not focusing on the main issue, which is getting people in office so that those efforts can actually come to fruition. Like, take Black Lives Matter, for instance. Love that organization. I think they're phenomenal. I think they need to continue doing what they're doing. If you have no idea who Black Lives Matter is, look them up, support them, find them in your local area. Yes. However, Black Lives Matter will continue to exist. They will have to continue to organize and rally and fight and demand equality until people in office pass legislation to end discrimination, to end racism. And I get that racism and discrimination is more of a mindset and a belief, and it's cultural, but it's also systemic. And if we can eliminate the systemic racism and discrimination that's inherent and intrinsic in our country, such as with loans, such as with housing values, such as in the job market, such as with policing and law enforcement, such as even in academia, take any facet of society, and there is systemic racism built into it, ingrained in it, that is developed and designed to ensure that Black African Americans cannot rise nearly as well or as easily or as simply as their white counterparts. That is a fact. That is nothing other than the pure, unadulterated truth. And the only way that changes is by getting people in office to change those laws. Now, I get it. I'm a white guy in rural Ohio, military, and running as a Republican, saying we need to help the Black community. Yes, we do, and I'm saying it. Yes, we need more Black people in office, and you know what? I would gladly support any candidate run against me, even. If you're in the Ohio's 1st Congressional District, and you happen to be watching this, and you happen to be Black, and you want to run, I will give you my full support. Because if we can control the Democratic primary, the Republican primary, and say an independent candidacy, we control all three levels, all three sides of the race. One of us is likely to win. And whichever one of us wins makes the difference. And that's what we can't lose sight of, right? This goes back to the Citizens United and cooperatives. If we continue to focus on Bernie Sanders or the president or 2020 or this one individual thing, we will lose all the time because we will lose focus on what matters. We have to gain control. We have to be in positions of power and authority first. We have to be able to affect change rather than simply demand it. I can go out there right now with a bullhorn in the middle of my apartment complex and say, "We demand equality. Fight for 15, universal health care." I could go in front of a police precinct and say, "End police violence." But unless I get elected or become sheriff or do something where I can affect that policy change, it doesn't change. It doesn't get affected. I can protest until I get arrested and it won't change. I'm not saying that to deter you from protesting. I'm telling you that after you protest, go knock on doors and find a local candidate, use the Our Voice directory, look up who your candidates are near you, and support them. Protest, petition, support. It's going to take all three. But you cannot forget to get people elected. You cannot forget to help them because they need your help. It cannot be done alone. I cannot do it alone. It sure seems like it sometimes. It sure seems like I'm doing everything for the campaign on myself, but that's okay. I get it. We have lives to live. What's going on is pretty crappy. Everybody's trying to get their foot in the door, and everybody's trying to make their mark. I get it. But that doesn't mean we can't work together. You want to be Black Lives Matter, Women's March, Green New Deal, this, that, and the other? Fantastic. Let's work together. Let's hold a joint rally. DSA, Our Revolution, the Young Turks, Justice Democrats, Brand New Congress. Let's work together. Let's collectively organize and unite. Let's not have conflicting events. If Black Lives Matter is going to have a rally, then why would the Women's March have one downtown at the same time, on the same day? Or DSA, or Young Progressives, or Justice Dems. If we're all fighting for the same thing, why are we trying to split each other's support? Why aren't we working together? That's my biggest frustration, and that's my greatest message to you all. We cannot afford this division. We just can't. We simply, as numerous as we are, and as powerful as we are, that is only a truth if it is collectively. Otherwise, we are scattered to the four winds, and we don't have that strength. We don't individually have a vast amount of resources. We collectively have a vast amount of resources. Individually, our voices are weak and drowned out. But collectively, we are a veritable hurricane, a tornado, a force to be reckoned with. But this is only true collectively. And I will be the bearer of bad news. I'm sorry. I really am. I wish it were different. I wish I had $1 billion. I really do. If I had $1 billion, I would personally finance every single campaign in the country. That's what I would do. If you're a grassroots candidate, I would give you all the money you need, all of the infrastructure, all the resources, all of the volunteers that you need to win. If I had the money and the resources, I would do it without a second's hesitation. Because I believe in America. I believe in the American people. I believe in our morality and our ethics and the foundations upon which we were founded. I believe in e pluribus unum. That is why I'm doing this. But we constantly get distracted by the POTUS State of the Union, Russia, 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 one sex scandal after another. And we lose sight of the mission, which is political reform, that we're all in this together. So what if you disagree on a few details? So what if you have a slightly better view on healthcare? Oh, I'm not feminist enough. Okay, help me be better. Oh, I'm not understanding of black suffering or Hispanic suffering or Islamic suffering. Then educate me. Don't ostracize me. Let's work together. Don't get on your high horse and say, you're not good enough. Teach me. Elevate me. Support me. And I can do the same in turn. We are all in this together, and we have to remember that. So actually, on the subject of the State of the Union, funny thing, true story, I don't have cable. I literally don't own cable, and I haven't had cable since I enlisted in 2010. So one of the best ways to avoid fake news is to not watch it by not owning it. But somebody wants me, or somebody, I guess several of you want me to comment on the State of the Union. Honestly, I'm not sure I could stomach watching it. I could definitely give you what I think we should do as a country. And I mean, that's obviously what this live stream is about, I suppose. But, you know, there's, I see no reason to address the tomfoolery of Donald Trump. I really don't. I don't, we shouldn't give the man any credence whatsoever. Honestly, he thrives off of publicity and attention. So we should deny it to him. And I'm not saying that to jump on that particular bandwagon. I'm saying because He is a threat. We know he's a threat. We know he's going to say stupid stuff. We know he's going to lie. We know he's going to come up with nonsense that is completely irrelevant and does not solve any of our problems. We know he's going to be corrupt. We know he's going to be self-serving. We know everything that's going to come out of that man's mouth is going to be for his own agenda. I don't need to listen to the State of the Union to know that. I don't need to turn on Fox News to know that the Republican Party is corrupt, that the Democratic Party is corrupt, that Trump is corrupt, and that this FBI, Russia nonsense is idiotic and wasteful and going to do nothing more than upset a bunch of people. I literally don't need that. I do not need to waste my time on that. And neither should you. None of us should be wasting our time on mainstream media or establishment politics because we know what it is. We know that it's corrupt and defunct. So let's instead focus on elevating and spreading exposure on those local candidates, those first-time grassroots candidates, like Lindsey Brown, who's also running as a Republican for Congress in her district. And I apologize, I can't remember your district off the top of my head. Or Johnny Axum. Same thing. He's in Missouri, I believe, also running for Congress. Lisa Ring, the wife of John Ring, who helped me run for my DNC chair race back, well, this time last year. She's running for Congress in Georgia, right? And all of these people are running as Republican, Democrat, Independent. That reminds me, Maria Stauber, I think I just said her name wrong. Marcia Squire. She's running as a senator in Michigan as an independent, right? Let's talk about them, right? Sema, also running for senator in Texas as a Democrat. Dave Hildebrand. Let's talk about them. These are people who don't have enough exposure. These are the men and women who are fighting for you, who will fight for you, who would give their lives for you. And I don't say that lightly. Here's the thing. Everybody is like, well, we should do something about it. Are you willing to go to jail? Are you willing to lay down your life for what you believe in? Because these people are. These Nazis, these racists, these people, these creatures who are pushing a corporatist agenda, a systemic racist agenda, this deportation of immigrants, the ICE federal agency, all these organizations and entities and supporters of those agencies, they will die. They will lay down their lives. They are willing to sacrifice everything for their hateful rhetoric and their hateful beliefs. Are you? Are you willing to lay down your life to stop them and to oppose them? Are you willing to get arrested for it? Revolution, protesting, the resistance is meaningless. Absolutely 1000% meaningless if you're not willing to sacrifice for it. Whether that's time, whether that's money, or whether that's your safety. If you're not willing to sacrifice, then it's pointless. It is literally a wasted effort. You're wasting your time, you're wasting our time, and you're wasting everybody else's time. I want that to sink in. I sacrificed my military career. I sacrificed personal relationships. I've moved out of state, out of hometowns. I've been unemployed for 8 months. I ran on my own merits. I absolutely obliterated my personal savings. And then I did it again. Because I believe in this country. I believe in its people. I believe in our potential. I'm willing, and I have shown a willingness to sacrifice and to put my money literally where my mouth is. I'm willing to go that extra mile, and I'm willing to be the bad guy. Hate me all you want. Cast me down. Whatever. But one thing you will never be able to say is that I'm not doing this for you, that I'm not doing this for the greater good, that I am not doing everything within my power to bring us together. Maybe I can work on my charisma or my people skills. I'm working on it. Trust me, believe me. I don't try and be an asshole or be the unpopular guy in the room. I'm trying to be the guy that you can talk to, that, hey, come to me and I'll help. Tell me what you need, and I will return the favor, right? The point is, the reason why I'm bringing it down a notch and kind of making it a little subdued for a moment. I've lost friends to this, right? People have given everything. People have sacrificed everything for political advancement and reform to get popular change. Some of them right now are currently suffering, dealing with psychological trauma. I know plenty of people who have gone bankrupt and lost their homes and their jobs in pursuit of political reform. And then I see people attack those folks, saying they're not doing enough, when, for all intents and purposes, all they're doing is shouting on the internet, on Facebook and Twitter. There's a time and a place for social media activism. It's never to put others down. Ever. Correct the record, maybe? Give people news sources and articles to educate and update and inform? Sure. To tear each other down? No. Especially when those people that are being teared down or torn down have given so much. And we have to respect that, but we show that respect not by sending thoughts and prayers and good wishes. We do it by being active, by taking action, by being supportive. If you can't donate, knock on doors, make phone calls. If you can't do that, then yeah, fine, proliferate messages on social media. If that's all you can do, then do it. But do something. What are you willing to do? What are you willing to give up to achieve this goal? And if the answer is nothing, then you don't deserve it. You don't deserve the fruits of our labor. You don't just demand change and do nothing for it and expect it to be handed to you. That is the problem. We used to be a very tenacious country. For God's sakes, we fought World War I and World War II and won. Manifest Destiny, although steeped in genocide and the slaughter of natives, was also indicative of American hard work and tenacity. Attacking the frontier, fighting against the elements, building a country. Yes, I fully admit and agree that it was at the cost and the expense of Native Americans and slaves. No argument there. And we owe them so much more than what we have ever done. Maybe that's reparations. Maybe that's offering them, at the very least, the first crack at universal education and job positioning and relocation assistance. And certainly a significant amount of resources should be given to Native Americans and in their reservations, for damn sure. Right? If anybody should be receiving a full clean energy power grid, it should be the Native American reservations first. Absolutely. But we also have a strong spirit in the American culture and history. We have overcome such adversity and such calamity throughout our history, and we've accomplished great and amazing things. We put a man on the moon, for crying out loud. Right? We caused the Berlin Wall to be torn down. We helped liberate Europe from Nazi Germany. We've been the trendsetters of a lot of the technological advancements in the 21st century. We have done a lot of good, but we have done a lot of bad. We have done so many terrible and awful things. Our imperialism, our war profiteering, right? But as a country, as a people, we have always fallen back on our sense of community and collectiveness. But over the years, over the past couple of decades, it seems like that's gone to the wayside, and we've given in to selfishness and solidarity, singularity, instead of working with each other, instead of supporting one another as good Americans, as good neighbors, as good human beings. Some of us try and feed homeless and then they get arrested. But nobody stands up for those getting arrested and surrounds the officers and saying, no, this is morally wrong. I get it, because the fear of retribution is there. Nobody wants to get beaten, nobody wants to get shot, nobody wants to get arrested. But if nobody's willing to stand up and step up then how can you expect change to happen? Martin Luther King Jr. died. Malcolm X died. Many women suffragists died. Thousands upon thousands of slaves died, and millions of natives died for their rights, their freedoms, right? And natives are still being treated like crap. The African American community is still barely treated as equals, and that's only on certain occasions. Never mind Hispanic or Islamic communities. If we want change, we have to be part of it. We have to be willing to work for it. And if that means sacrificing a little bit of our own comforts, then that's what it takes. That's literally what it takes. Now, I'm not asking you to, go William Wallace, paint yourself blue with a broadsword and shout freedom at the top of your lungs. I am saying, stand up. Stand out. If you see oppression, defend it. Defend against it, I should say. Defend the person being oppressed. If you see an officer being abusive, defend the person being abused. It takes one to be an example. So be that example. Be that one. That's what it's all about. So, going to try and find a less heavy topic. Well, political comedy is something I was recommended doing, but, I don't really know. Unless I start off and I have skits and stuff, I'm really not sure how to start off with that. Okay. Ohio ballot issues that will get out the vote. So, currently on the ballot has been marijuana legalization, specifically medicinal. I believe there was even a measure that incorporated recreational use. That marijuana being legal would go a long way to combat the opioid crisis that's ripping through our state, or my state, I should say. The reason why marijuana being legal combats opioid is because A, it treats opioid addiction, and B, if you have the choice between heroin and pot, it's pretty much a no-brainer. Heroin can kill you the first time you ever use it. Pot, at most, is going to kill your bank account because you're going to get the munchies, right? Even law enforcement admit that people who smoke marijuana are not going to threaten the lives of officers. They just want to sit home and relax. And that's true. Most, if not all people who use marijuana, it doesn't allow aggression to really come forth. Whereas with heroin or nicotine or alcohol, well, we have a long history about that, do we not? So the legalization of marijuana is absolutely something that should get people excited. Not just young people, not just hippies, not just stoners, everybody. Because, first of all, the tax revenue that comes from marijuana is substantial. And, of course, that means new roads, improved buildings, and, I don't know, lowering your own taxes because, hey, that's a thing. Right? There's any number of things. It could be put for drug rehabilitation centers. It could be put towards a local citizen's health care, right? So that ties me into the universal health care, the Medicare for all. If health insurance is mandatory, why not create a state-owned health insurance, right? That's what Medicare is. So we already have it. We're already taken care of. So expand Medicare to everybody. It's already paid for in taxes. Right? Because at that point, no more out-of-pocket costs. And now you can treat addiction as the health problem that it is instead of a crime. You can continue to focus on the traffickers and the manufacturers and the distributors. Absolutely. Those are criminals. Absolutely go after those people. But the users, the addicts, they're the victims. And they should be treated as such. They should be given the care they need and they deserve. Medicare for all allows for that. Legalization of marijuana allows for that, and they go hand in hand. Oh, geez. The Grammy. Well, I did talk about that first with the Prince's debut. I don't know anything about the Grammys either. I don't know who won them. I don't know much about it other than it's for the music industry. But hey, again, that's what our focus should be on. Wasting our time on frivolous nonsense like that because it's fun, it's entertaining, it's, letting your hair down, it's allowing you to relax. That is what we should be focusing. We should be focusing on pleasure and leisure, right? Not solely, not at the expense of everything else. But our lives shouldn't be focusing on whether or not our leadership is going to take away our paychecks and our pensions and our job security and the future of our children, right? We shouldn't be stressing about those things. We should be stressing about, am I going to be able to make it home in time to watch the game or to catch my new show or to, I can't wait to play that new video game or read that book. That's what we should be focusing on. That's what should consume our anxieties, right? Not whether or not we can survive and afford to live in this country, the wealthiest nation on earth. So as far as the Grammys are concerned, you know what? Hey, if that's your thing, go for it. Let's see. Let me refresh this page real quick. All right, let me pull up their Twitter real fast. Yeah, Matt, you have a point. I think people will continue to pick one single issue to get outraged about and focus on that. Anyone who doesn't support them is in their eyes against them, even though that's not often the case. See, that was kind of what I was bringing up before. This all or nothing, this black and white, this coin toss mentality that we have in the United States has to come to an end, right? And just because you want to focus on that single issue and I want to focus on this single issue doesn't mean we both don't agree that those issues are worthy. It's just that's where our focus is. Okay, let's focus together, right? That's your issue, climate change. This is my issue, the opioid crisis. Let's talk about it together. Let's bring you on my live stream. Let's get you on Our Voice, the podcast. Let's get you in front of Tim Black and Jimmy Dore. Let's do this thing, right? Go team political reform. Just because we have singular issues and preferences doesn't mean that we can't work together. And it's not that I think, I know we can do better. It's just a matter of what is it going to take? What is that spark that's missing? What is that catalyst? I know everybody wants it to be Bernie Sanders, but you know what? 2018 is right now. My primary for Ohio's 1st Congressional is going to start in 2 weeks. My election is in May 8th. And I can confidently say that I am the only progressive on the ballot. And I'm running as a Republican. My platform has remained unchanged since I ran for office last year, actually the year before last, in 2016. Yet, there's a lot of dissent because I'm running as a Republican. Oh no, we got to go against him because he's running as a Republican, he's going to sell out. In what universe have I given any indication that I intend to sell out or that I would sell out? We need to focus on getting the best qualified people that are going to have our best interests at heart. And no establishment Democrat and no establishment Republican is. That's just a fact. There might be some few politicians out there that have been in office for some time that do care and they continue to care, but they are a minority. And that's the problem. So support me in this upcoming primary. And then, win or lose, go help the next one. And the next one, and the next one, and the next one after that. Push us through into the general. And after the general, then focus on the 2019 elections. And then focus on the presidential campaigns, right? The presidential campaigns are going to take care of themselves. It's intrinsic. They have the resources, they have the numbers, they're going to be able to do that. They're good. They're fine. But candidates like me, candidates running for state representative and state senate or governor or school board or council or sheriff, they don't have a presidential campaign and infrastructure. They just don't. They need your help far more than the presidential candidates. We all know who Bernie Sanders is. He is the most popular politician in America. He's going to do just fine. The second he makes an official announcement, I think this time the news can't ignore it. They might not give him airtime, but they can't ignore it. And that's going to make waves. And that's great. Proliferate that message. Bernie 2020, I'm feeling it. If Tulsi runs, fantastic. Maybe she can be VP. Or maybe Bernie can be her VP. I don't really give a damn. Both of them on the ticket, go for it. But here's a problem. Bernie Sanders did not campaign for nearly enough grassroots candidates last year. He didn't. That's a fact. That is not me downing him. That is simply a reality. He needs to change that. And if he isn't, then we need to. That's the point. If we don't elevate other candidates and bring them in a collective support structure, and the presidential nominee doesn't do it either, then if the president does get elected, they don't have anything to support themselves with. You need it all. We need it all. It takes all of us working together. E pluribus unum isn't just a fancy, cool Latin phrase that the founding fathers came up with. It's truth. It is reality. It's the only way this democratic republic works. It's the only way this representative democracy works. It's the only way our country operates, through collectivism. And that's how humanity operates. Whether 12,000 years ago when we were nothing but tribes and small intersectional communities, to principalities and kingships and kingdoms and countries, it always took all of us working together. It always took a collectiveness. So, if Bernie isn't going to elevate people around him, then we need to. And we need to stop fighting each other about it. If you're a Justice Democrat, a Republican, Green Party, Independent, great. Cross-promote one another. Put yourselves on the candidate directory so we all know who you are. The only way we can help you, the only way we can help each other is if we know who we are. And right now, the only tool available to put everybody on there, regardless of affiliation, is the candidate directory. And it was designed that way on purpose. Because it is filling a void. Right? If we don't use the tools and resources at our disposal and we don't work together, we suffer as a whole. Even if we're not working together, we will suffer together. Right? We win as a team, and we absolutely lose as a team. There is no I in that team. And for all of you silly sallies that want to rearrange letters, there is a me. No, there isn't. Because one person cannot bear the full burden of the collective body and still be successful. It's impossible. In politics, there is no I or me in this team. So we got to start focusing. We got to start pulling together. And we got to start overcoming our differences. And I'm more than happy to help. Our Voice is more than happy to interview you and spread your message and proliferate. The canvassing app is out there so you can go knock on doors and be freely available. In fact, it is now a fully published app. It is no longer in beta. It is an app. It is a debut app. Use it. Go out there. Quit relying on MPG Vanda Nation Builder that costs thousands of dollars. Use the free tools and resources at your disposal that are being developed for you to use. And we can make a difference. Together. Let's see. What else do we got going on here? Doomsday Clock. Alright. So the Doomsday Clock is a relic of the Cold War. And it's being brought back because, well, we're trying to fight another Cold War, right? Russia's the enemy. Communism and socialism is the enemy. Terrorists are upon us, and immigrants are the enemy, right? So, yeah, it kind of makes sense that we're reliving the Cold War and that the Doomsday Clock is a relevant thing again. But again, it's a distraction. It's just noise. The leaders of the world aren't going to commit to thermonuclear war. They're just not. Because every other world leader actually doesn't have their head up their ass and realizes that thermonuclear war will cause nuclear winter and the destruction of the human race. So why pursue that? First of all, the most effective tool in warfare nowadays is economic sanctions. Worked quite well against Russia during the Obama administration. And hey, before you lambast me for saying something positive about Obama, the man did do good things, and he certainly did bad things. The economic sanctions against Russia was one of the good things. If the world really wanted to put an end to American imperialism and put a stop to the Trump administration, they would set up a trade embargo with the United States. That's what they would do. And it would be effective immediately. It would devastate our economy. It would absolutely be ruinous to our economy. It also would negatively impact the global economy. No questions there. But it would force this administration to change its act. And it would give people a very sobering reality check that America may be the most powerful and the wealthiest nation in the world, but it is one of many. And that we are beholden to the same laws and rules that other nations are. And that we still have a responsibility to our own people. There are ways to take care of our countrymen without alienating half the demographics. Right? Capitalism isn't inherently evil. It isn't. Neither is socialism inherently pure. Also true. It's the people who affect them that are evil or pure. That's why we need ethics. That's why we need balance. That's why we need morality. And that's why we need to be participatory in all of these processes. And we need people in place that can defend us and augment us and support us and uplift us in those endeavors. Otherwise, it's tilting at windmills. So I encourage all of you to be active, to not just protest, but to stand up for your fellow American. To not just stand up for them, but to vote. And not to just vote, but to support candidates. And not just support candidates. To be better, to educate yourselves, to educate those around you, and encourage them to do the same. One team, one fight. That's what it's all about. Let's see. Climate change. That's another topic that was brought up. So climate change is very real. If you want proof, it is January 28th, and it is not 12 degrees outside. In fact, I think it was like 40 or 50 degrees. That's springtime. That's what it should be in March or April. Earlier this month, it was 60 degrees in January. Last year, Christmas, I believe, was also 50 or 60 degrees. Climate change isn't quote-unquote global warming. Climate change isn't, oh, well, it's still hot and cold and there's still snow. No, climate change is the fact that the seasons are changing and that the migration patterns of birds and that other species are being affected, that sea levels are rising, that the ice caps are melting, and that in general the topography of Earth is being affected. That the acidity of our oceans is increasing. That the ozone layer may be repairing itself slowly, but that it's still damaged. And that we are, in effect, to blame. Now, ironically, we're partially to blame, but we're also going through an ice age. That sort of pattern that our planet does go through every so many millennia. We are speeding up that process, however. We are expediting it. And instead of planning for its inevitability, we focus on imaginary lines, alienating our brothers and sisters because of the color of their skin or the god they choose to worship. Really? We could be colonizing Mars. We could be terraforming Mars, the moon. We could be exploring space. We could be making new and more advancements in medicine and technology. Blockchain is a recent invention that basically secures any sort of digital media through intrinsic properties. We could be focusing on quantum computing, which would revolutionize computing in, well, society. We could be focusing on a clean energy initiative, engage in an energy race that could dwarf the space race or the arms race. But instead, we are focusing on late-stage industrialism and the Cold War. Why? Because we have the relics of that past in office. Because they continue to win. Because they continue to succeed. Because we do not pull together. Because we allow them to win. Because we don't stop them. But I'm out there protesting. That's not true. I'm putting in my time. No, I was at that activist protest. I voted for Jill Stein. I helped Bernie Sanders. I did my part, and they still won. Okay. Did you help others with you? Was there a collectiveness? Or was it this protest in contrast and conflict to this one? Did this action also circumvent the other action that was also in place to prevent these people from getting elected? I'm not saying that I have all the answers, nor am I saying that I have all the, the answers to all of the questions. What I am saying is none of us do. Bernie Sanders, Jill Stein, Tulsi, the Young Turks, Justice Democrats, Our Revolution. No one entity has all the answers. That's the freaking point. And climate change, the doomsday clock, resuming war games to North Korea after the Olympics, ICE rounding up and acting like the Gestapo. These are all realities that are occurring because we aren't working together. Period. I don't care what your individual pet focus is. Do not let it blind you to the fact that there are other people with similar mindsets about a different topic that still fundamentally want what you want, which is reform and change. We have to start realizing, I think we are slowly realizing, but we got to expedite this process, folks. We got to learn by running, right? We got to trip a few times and skin our knees, dust ourselves off, and keep pushing forward. It's okay. We're not going to win collectively. 100% across the board, we're not. Even if we pulled together 1,000% starting right now because of this message, because of the potential of Bernie 2020, we will still lose elections, and that's okay. But we will win so many more. That's our potential. Our potential is that we can have victories, that we can affect change, and we can get the ball rolling. We can build that momentum, but it's not going to happen if we do not work together, if we not pool our resources. So, with that being said, I think it's time to wrap up. And let's see. We'll wrap it up like this. My name is Samuel Ronan. I'm running for Congress in Ohio's 1st Congressional District as a Republican. You can find me on www.ronanforcongress.com, /Ronan for Congress on Facebook, and @Ronan4Progress on Twitter. My only goal in running for office is to represent my country. And you might agree or disagree with my policies, but at the end of the day, all I want is to make our lives simpler and easier. I want our government to represent us. I want us to have that conversation. I want us to be more than a coin toss, and I want us to be more than what we are not. I want us to be, what are we willing to fight for? What are we willing to build? I want us to be a country that works together, comes together, builds together, grows together, and prospers together. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we all want. So I hope I can earn your support in the upcoming primaries. I hope you can find other candidates around you and support them as well. And I hope you use the tools that are at your disposal. The Our Voice Candidate Directory, the Our Voice Canvassing app, and any of the other tools out there, from everything from the Green Party to the Justice Democrats and Our Revolution. We can do this, but we can only do it together. So with that, I look forward to working with you. Have a great day.